popping in the chat. Yeah, it looks like we have a good audience here with us. 12 p.m. Eastern. Yep, that's the time zone. You have myself, that's Tony Varghese. I work on product marketing here at beehiiv, and also Steven, who you might recognize from our YouTube channel. I'll let Steven introduce himself.
Yeah. Oh, also Tony, you should Ken saying you should pump up your volumes. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I sound fine, but
I think you sound
yeah.
fine, Steven. Let me try to pump up my volume. Um,
Okay. I guess we'll wait. Is it max already? Or should I just lower mine?
my volume's at max, so I'm not quite sure.
Okay. Then I'll just lower mine and then I guess should be fine. Yes, this recording will be sent to everyone.
Perfect. I do have some slides to share that take us through all of the features that we've launched in the last quarter, so let me pull that up right now. All right, so now you should be seeing my screen. Let me know, Stephen, if that looks good on your end.
Yeah, everything looks good.
Cool. All right, so quick agenda. I'm going to look at the last quarter, so July, August, and September, and preview a few features in Q4. So the goal is to run through what we've built, how you can deploy it for your own publication, and share some tips and tricks that Stephen has used as an independent creator to get a lot of value from these features. So we do have a link here if you want to submit questions in advance. We'll also be pulling questions live from the channel. Stephen, would you mind dropping that link in the chat when you have a second?
Yeah,
And
also it seems like people can't hear you. Like you're quiet still.
got it.
Um
Let me try switching over to a different device. Can you run with things for a little bit, Stephen?
yeah. Let me get the should I screen record then? Get the
Uh,
slides or
that would be great.
on
Yeah,
your end? You want to do that?
that would be great if you could.
All right. Sorry guys. Give me a second to pull up the slides and then we'll do this real quick. Okay.
Stephen, how's that?
On my end everything has sounded the same, so I think it's just on
Kevin
the
said,
viewer's end.
fortunately.
All right. If you can, stop sharing your screen and I'll share, if anything. All right. So it looks like Tony is hard to hear right now. So we'll switch over to mine. Sorry about that, guys. We'll be back in a second. Okay. So I'm back. I guess I'll take over for now. Um, but you can submit all questions to this URL right here. If anyone wants to leave any questions. We'll get to it at the end. And I guess we can get going, and we'll be covering basically everything we dropped over the past 4 months or 3 months or so. 4 months.
Steve,
Uh, yeah.
Steven, this should be better. I'm going to check the chat because I know people have left feedback in there. Much better.
Okay. Much.
Perfect.
Okay. We'll get into it now then. Uh, to save some time. Um, yeah. So we'll start with July. We launched 4 different things. As usual, we try to launch every week, if not every 2 weeks. And we actually have an update coming this week as well. So stay tuned. I guess Tony, you can take over for now, and then as your audio is better now. So
For sure. So, leading with the mobile app, I think this is something that our users have been asking for, and I think it really distinguishes us from the Substacks of the world where you can download the Substack app, but you're not really owning your audience in the same way, right? You're sending your audience to download a third party app and to engage with your content through that app. What we mean by mobile app is an app specifically for your newsletter that lives on your home screen. And so that's what we built, that's what we're offering. And it's super cool because it allows you to, when someone has your app downloaded, every time you publish a piece of content, they can get a push notification and see exactly that a new piece of content's there for them to read. It's a real one-to-one relationship, and I think that's why we're so excited about it, and that's why we've seen really strong uptake so far. The way you can get to this new feature is in design. In the design panel, go to Web Builder, Settings, and then Mobile App, and from there you can toggle it on. Yes, Ken, it is your app. That's exactly it.
yeah, essentially, the first time or whenever a user logs in, like just normally on like a web browser, like let's say they click on read online on your email, and then it shows inside the web browser. It'll basically notify the user like to download the app if they're logged in the first time around. So basically on your end, you don't really have to do anything. You could remind users to download the app or install the app on their phone. But there will be a prompt once they log in, on their mobile device that there is a mobile app as well. So it's really cool. There's also notifications for like when someone replies or likes a comment. So if you have enabled comments on your post, that's also a great use of it. And it saves time for users to log in. Like they just stay logged in for a period of time, and there's a lot of benefit. Like every time I send out my newsletter, I actually get my own notification. And like actually the photo you see on in the screenshot is actually from my newsletter. So it's been pretty cool to see.
For sure. And I believe the app is available on all plans, including the free plan.
Yeah, I'm
Yep.
pretty sure as well.
Yeah. And to Vicky's question, can you add a website to the app? Not right now. What you can do is if you're linking to a newsletter post that you just published, if you have links embedded in that post, that's a way to get people from the app into a different web experience.
Yeah.
Steven, you want to jump to the next slide? So I'm not going to spend too much time on the updated post dashboard. The impetus behind this was getting feedback from our users that they just wanted to know more about their audience, who was engaging, when, how the A/B tests were performing, looking at the data over time. And so our goal was just to build a more performant post dashboard, and that's what we did here. Um, there's also additional capabilities here that make it easier to export raw data, that make it easier to identify and interact with top readers. And I think the cool thing is the sky is the limit of how you use this data, right? Let's say you identify top readers, maybe you pull those readers into an ambassador program of some kind. Or maybe now that you have more granular insight into your A/B tests, it changes how you lead with different subject lines on different days. This is basically an initiative to get more relevant data in front of people who are publishing with the goal of helping you create better content. I think that's what it boils down to. Steven, I know you're in these dashboards often. Do you have any feedback and takeaways?
Well, yeah, I guess the generally also just what we're doing is we're revamping the UI like everywhere. So this is just I guess the first place we started as well. I think premium subscriptions. This also came as a UI update as well. So just makes it easy to read. Just looks a lot more appealing, especially since most of the time you're spending is around the post builder as well as the post dashboard. Just like really easy to see the data, and you can actually click into specific links that people have clicked. So like let's say you have a bunch of links inside a post, you can see who clicked it, how many unique clicks there is, stuff like that. So really, really, I guess like a lot of detail that you can really get into. And even for like if you run an ad through the Beehive ad network, you can also see who's clicking, how many clicks they have, and then you can really take it a step further if you like segment by like specific people. So I guess it's really good for that type of stuff if you are really interested in who's clicking and engaging with your stuff. Also,
For
there's like
sure.
you can view polls, interactions, straight from this post dashboard. So if you do leave I guess like trivia or poll questions inside your post. Anything related to your post will be here, including comments. So super interesting uh, and super helpful. This is like where I spend most of the time.
And to Steven's point, he mentioned segments, and I think that this new dashboard works hand in hand with the segment functionality. And so, for example, Steven mentioned looking at click data. If you want to look at your top clickers, everyone who clicked your most recent newsletter edition, maybe you want to engage with them separately. Maybe you want to send them an offer to upgrade to your paid product. That's a good use case here. What you could do is you can create a segment of everyone who clicked in the last 7 days, for example, or who clicked multiple times in the last 7 days. And you can use that to create a really tight, engaged audience that you can then use for additional marketing or additional touch points. So just one example.
Even further than that, we just posted something on Twitter where you can actually segment by people who clicked a specific link in a specific post. So it even gets as granular as that. Like if you maybe link to an offer or like a landing page or something, and you want to like re-engage with that person, there is that. There's a way to do that. So you can actually segment by post specific people who clicked on a specific link, which is very very specific. Um, but yeah, it's a great way to really, I guess, dive deeper. So combine this with segments.
Awesome. Jumping into the next slide here, that is going to be comments and social share. And so this again is all about creating a one-for-one relationship to your audience. Like you'll notice a theme here across some of these features. What we really want is for you to be able to talk to your audience directly. And this is a feature that you can enable in the post editor. If you go to email settings, you can toggle this on and off, so you don't have to toggle this on. I know there's oftentimes more work that comes with having comments and social shares because there's some more moderation that has to happen. But it's a great way to have an open discussion with your audience. How this works is when someone clicks to do this, they're brought to the web version of your post, and then this happens on that web version.
Yeah, and for the social sharing, that basically they can click a button and share that web post or email post to their audience. So like if a subscriber wants to share it to like Facebook, if you toggle on social buttons, they'll show like Threads, which we just introduced, Twitter, Facebook, and you can click and basically one click share the post. So it really allows your audience to share as well. The Tony was talking about the engagement buttons, like and comment, which happens on the web post.
Perfect. Partner leaderboard. So this is a feature that's specific to our partner program. And the partner program is our referral program. It's one of the most generous referral programs for any SaaS platform out there. So you'll be entitled to 50% of the revenue driven by the partners you refer for their first year on the platform. So really competitive payouts there. And then every quarter actually, we have our top performing partner gets an all expenses paid trip for them and a +1 to some faraway exotic location. I think this quarter it's Cabo. And so something that our partners had requested was a real-time leaderboard so they could see how they were doing in comparison to other partners. And this is something that we built for them, and it's gotten a lot of positive reception from the partner community. I also want to emphasize that the partner program is available to anyone and everyone. So if this is something that interests you, please apply.
Yeah. And just me personally, before I got started, like actually working at beehiiv, I actually used this partner program, and I think I earned like $600 off with like one referral. So, yeah, that was great. And now we're into the August updates, which we actually had a bunch. There's five, so I assume that's like one a week or more than one a week. But yeah,
Yeah, it was a big month for us. I think and these are all big features too. Subscriber preferences is basically giving your audience more control over how they engage with you. And so what they can do is first I'll say some use cases here. Like let's say you have an events business and you have events that are happening in New York City. Your audience can opt in to New York events versus Los Angeles events, for example. So you're only serving people relevant content. And this all lives on the in the website or on in your newsletter dashboard. So you can toggle this on. You can set up what you want the different preferences to be. Let's say you have different newsletter cadence options. You have a weekly newsletter, you have a monthly newsletter, you have a daily newsletter. You can use subscriber preferences to allow subscribers to opt into one of the three. And so it's again a way for people to engage with your content on their terms with the goal of creating a more engaged audience. Stephen, I know you've used this feature before. Do you have any recommendations about
yeah.
it?
So on the preference page, which your subscribers will see an update your preferences link at the bottom of their page, similar to like an unsubscribe link. If your subscribers go on there, they'll see also your other publications, whatever ones you want to show. So that's also an option. They can subscribe to like multiple newsletters of yours. So if you run like a tech newsletter and a maybe AI focused one, they can subscribe to more specific ones. Or if you don't run specific newsletters like that, but rather maybe different topics, they can opt into different topics. And what you can actually do is you can create like you can one click segment or like create a segment in one click based off what people chose. So like if you want to create a segment for people who said yes to a specific preference, you can create a segment and basically send to that audience directly from the post builder. There will be an option to select a segment. So that's probably what you would want to do. Maybe people who want to opt into like promotional emails, you can like send them something on Black Friday or specific like holidays. That maybe that's a cool thing. Some people don't like marketing material like that, so they could opt out or not choose not to opt in. But yeah, every subscriber will basically see update your preferences link uh, at the bottom of your emails that they can opt into these specific things. And you can adjust all these things or add more preferences in I think audience subscribers, and I think next to custom fields and tags, there would be an option for preferences, and you would collect this data via custom field. Um, yeah,
Yep. Uh, I think we covered that one pretty thoroughly. Audio newsletters. So this is super cool, super interesting. It basically allows you to turn your newsletter into effectively a podcast. And so we're partnering with 11 Labs. They do AI generated voices, and they're not like the weird robot voices. Like these are very one for one. They sound like real human voices, which is awesome. And so you have over a dozen to choose from at this point. You can even yeah, you can choose whatever voice you want, have it read your content, and then this is embedded into your newsletter so people can listen if they so choose. This would also be included natively in the mobile app experience if you're using that. If you have an app dedicated to your newsletter, this will be embedded natively there. So again, this all ties back to the same theme of letting your users engage with your content on their terms, and this is another tool in your toolbox to do that.
yeah. So also adding to this, I believe you can. It works in different languages. It will basically turn any text into audio based on whatever language your content is written in. So if you do write in Spanish, I believe it will translate to Spanish and actually give you an audio version of that. Um, and you won't need any like 11 Labs account or anything like that. You can just choose directly from the post builder in web settings, and you can choose a voice. And EJ, the head of growth at beehiiv, actually has their own his own voice, so you can actually choose it. I actually use EJ for like all my newsletters, just for fun. Even though I don't have to, there's other ones. To activate audio newsletters, when you're publishing a post in the web settings, there's an audio newsletter feature that you can toggle on. We have a tutorial on our YouTube channel that came out maybe 2 weeks ago, that you can check out. And this also works in the mobile app. It shows up on the web version of your post. So um, practically anywhere you want to show it.
I
At this
noticed.
time, you can't clone your. At this time, you can't use your own voice. You can just choose the preset ones. I'm sure in the future there, we'll explore that. However, because it does sound like a cool idea.
I know a few folks had asked about like specific problems that they're having. If you haven't yet reached out to support using the intake form on in the app, do that first. But if you need me to follow up, just send an email to tony@beehiiv.com and I will help get your question solved.
I'm also seeing a question about, does the audio appear on email? So I believe it will show up in the top right corner of your email. It will show a Play Online link that will direct to the web version, similar to there's a Read Online link that leads to the web version. So that because you wouldn't be able to natively play the audio file in an email. It's similar with audio embeds. We have an audio embed feature where you can basically embed any audio file, um, like a podcast as well. That leads to the web version. So you can't actually play it natively in the email, but on your website, in your mobile app, there will be this audio embed that you see.
Perfect. Add booking updates. So this is part of a larger project to make our in-platform ad network even more robust and powerful for our users. And so we were getting a lot of feedback from folks about exactly what more data could we surface about the specific partners that they were going to advertise, learn more about the brand, learn more about expected performance. So these are all insights that are now surfacing whenever we share an ad opportunity. So that's a big part of this. We've also added more flexibility for users to reschedule, for example, an ad opportunity. So if you, let's say you overbooked or you're taking a break from your newsletter for a little bit, but you want to have an ad opportunity on deck, like you can now work with the team to reschedule that opportunity for a more convenient date. That's available now. You're also able to give feedback on ad opportunities that might not be a good fit. And we encourage you to do that because that's actually something that allows our algorithms as we build out that machine learning capability. If we know what ads aren't a good fit, it helps us provision ads that are a much better fit. So these are all sort of new functionalities, net new within the ad network, and there's a lot more to come there. Stephen, do you want to talk about any of the? I know you've been pretty hands-on with the ad network too. Like, have you? Are there specific data points that you look at when you consider advertisers?
Yeah, typically, so I think it works best within a format. So what I mean by that is the best performance I've seen is where I included like an ad as like the tool of the week or free tool of the week. Basically, my newsletter, I list like 5 free tools or resources every week, and typically, if an advertiser is like advertising like some SaaS platform or a tool or resource, that would work. So, for example, HubSpot sponsored one of my newsletters this week, and they gave out like a lead magnet, like sort of like an AI guide, and I listed that as like a resource, and it's actually had one of my highest like click rates for an ad. So that's an example of like an advertiser that works well, because my newsletter basically compiles all like creative news, resources, and tutorials into like a weekly newsletter. So um, giving away basically a free lead magnet or resource is a perfect fit. So I think working within a format works well, like somehow integrating an ad that way. Also, one thing I wanted to note is that when you actually accept an ad, you can actually, if you like, let's say get busy on Saturday and you need to publish on Saturday, you can actually publish on Sunday. as long as the ad campaign is still going. So let's say it's like the ad campaign is until October 31st, but let's say it's October 8th today and you selected that as the day you publish, you can still publish on October 9th as long as you're within the campaign date. So as long as the ad is still available and you scheduled it, you don't actually need to post it that same day. As long as you accepted it within, like, I believe it's 48 hours or 72 hours, you can still publish it on any day. And my newsletter is Creators Toolbox, which are in some of the screenshots in this presentation.
Cool. And one other note about the ad network, it's all about empowering people who are using the ad network with the data they need. So after you run any ad with us, we'll send you a full performance report of how you did from a click perspective, how much you earned, all that relevant data. That again gives you more information to optimize off of. So pretty powerful tool. And I know someone had asked in the chat about more directions and documentation. Really good point, launching a lot of stuff. So we put together this change log actually, and we're going to keep this up to date as we continue to launch new features. In here, you'll basically have a running list of what was launched. There's documentation in here. We're going to keep adding documentation to the new features as we add them to the change log, but it's a good central resource for you all to keep an eye on.
Yeah, and just to note, I try to make tutorials as soon as a feature releases. There's obviously a lot, but even just the feature that's coming out very soon, there's a feature coming out sometime this week. There will be a tutorial for that. So it depends on the actual feature, but I actually just made a video on the audio newsletter, audio embeds. So all those tutorials are coming as soon as I get to them, but there are a bunch. So it may take some time, but there will end up being a tutorial for basically every feature that we release.
Awesome. Cool, quick heat maps. So this ties neatly into something we launched in the previous month about the more robust data visualizations in app. And quick heat maps are a key part of this. And so what this allows you to do is, instead of being in the weeds, looking at the number of clicks on each link, for example, you can look at this in aggregate across your entire newsletter. And this is super helpful for understanding audience engagement across your publication. So, for example, say that you see that your footer is getting a ton of clicks and people seem to be interested in your YouTube channel, for example. They're clicking through to your YouTube channel from the footer. Like, that could be an interesting area for you to optimize. Maybe you want to pull in more of your video content into your newsletter. That's just one off the fly example, or off the cuff example, but there's a lot you can do with heat maps, and I think that this format of looking at data is a lot more intuitive in some ways. So you can see exactly where people are engaging and optimize accordingly.
Which is in the screenshot here. There's like at the bottom of each of my newsletters, there's like, sorry, my connection just cut out, but at the bottom of my newsletters, there's a whole section of like news you might have missed, and there's like always like 20 links. Just easily seeing which link got more clicks is very helpful. Especially if you have like 50 different links in a email. You might not want to go through the normal data visualization on the post dashboard. Going through here and just clicking on it, you can actually basically direct yourself to that part in the email very easily. So if you just click out your mouse on one of the links, it'll actually direct you or redirect you to that part in the post. So super helpful, even for stuff like ads. If you run an ad or anything like that, or have an offer, you can see sort of like the percentage of clicks it's getting compared to the total clicks. So I guess that's pretty helpful as well.
Cool. That brings us to webhooks. I think this is a little bit more technical in nature, but it's super powerful. And so, really, all a webhook is, it's an automated message that's sent from one app to another based on a specific event. So basically, if something happens on platform X, do this thing in platform Y. And so in this case, beehiiv would be platform X. And a good example of how this would work in practice is, say you have a premium subscription that entitles people who pay for that subscription to interact with your private Slack group or Discord server. And so using a webhook in an automation allows you to wait for that event to happen. So someone purchases a premium subscription tier of yours because we offer that all natively in our platform. We could then send a webhook to Discord and create a user profile for that user who just bought a paid subscription in your Discord channel. So that's one more common use case for this. But really, this ties back to our theme of being an open platform that integrates cleanly and neatly with the other tools in your tech stack. And so, really, the sky's the limit with webhooks. I think the premium subscription to social community is a common one. You can also use this for a referral milestone. So let's say someone hits 20 referrals and that entitles them to something on another platform that you want to fulfill elsewhere. You can do that with this feature. Steven, do you have any other examples that you've seen actively being used?
I personally haven't used this feature that much, mainly because I use like Make in Zapier, which we released like I think V2 of our Make integration. Um, and I also feel this is quite a little more advanced than the typical like Make automation. Although you could probably integrate this with Make as well. Um, Personally, for me, I haven't. But I'm sure there's like many use cases like very similar to the ones you can create in Make and Zapier.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely a more technical feature, and we do have some robust documentation, but we do need to add more. I think someone posted in the chat that we have to clone Steven, which I think would be a great idea. Just because we're shipping things in such a fast clip, it's definitely important to stay up on that documentation.
Yeah, we do update the knowledge base far more often and faster than the videos I can produce. So that is a great resource, and we have like a lot of knowledge base articles, and we recently revamped the knowledge base as well. So yeah, that's a great resource. But yeah, a lot of the automations and sort of things you can do relate do very well for things like referral programs, premium subscriptions, paid communities. So if you do any of that, I think these type of things are really useful for that.
Agreed. Cool. And that takes us to the last month, September. And so, two different two initiatives in September, but I think new post builder is a little bit misleading because that touches so much of the app and there are so many moving pieces within that new post builder. So it could be a whole bunch of separate features on its own, but we'll talk to that when we get there. But the first one is password based login. Yep, and this is exactly what it sounds like. So previously, everything was by magic link. So someone would get a link in their inbox and then log in through that single use link. Now people can create a unique password for a publication. I think this has been requested by some of the publications that offer premium subscriptions primarily. So if you're paying for an account, you can log into your account. So it's more for that traditional account structure. So it just enables different sort of operational models for you as a business. Again, it's all about flexibility, right? If you would rather use Magic Link, if you're worried about, for example, password sharing, you don't have to use the password-based login. You can toggle that off in the app. So again, a flexible tool that you can use as it suits your business needs.
Yeah, and I guess the main reason someone would want to log into your publication, so your website, is for paid only content, maybe like paid wall content, or even if you gated content, like to only subscribers, not even paid subscribers, but just free subscribers. Some people just it's a great way of converting subscribers. So if you have content that you want to just gate, users can log in this way as well. So that those are probably the big use cases. And there's always the option for both. You can actually toggle this off if you want, which I actually made a tutorial on our YouTube channel. You can toggle this off if you want. Some people just prefer Magic Link only. Um, and I see a question about, it says, as I'm building my audience, casual readers can get in without a password, right? So so I'm not 100% sure what that question means, but you can either choose to just show all your content for free. You can gate it, which means they have to log in to see your content, basically subscribe to see your content. And at first, when someone does subscribe, they don't have a password. They can choose to create a password if they want, and you can just toggle this off completely, and they can just get a magic link sent to them. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but um, technically, a user does not have to even log in to see your content. But yeah, I guess we can move on.
Perfect. And I noted that a few people asked about community. Is there a community that people can participate in? We do have a paid Slack community, not a community that you pay for, but it comes with your paid subscription. It's called the Hive. So if you aren't a part of that, I think it's worth joining for sure. Like lots of good discussion, lots of back and forth between newsletter operators happening in there.
Yeah, and
Cool.
I also have made a video on how to join the Hive. I think some people also have questions. You'll also get notified. I believe you will get an email. So if you have been maybe signed up for a while and maybe you missed the notification or email or you just can't find it, we have a video on the YouTube channel on how to join it as well.
Cool. That brings us to possibly one of the biggest feature releases of the quarter. So that would be our new post builder. And so first, I want to call it like a few different features within the new post builder experience. So one of the big ones is shareable drafts. And so let's say you have a newsletter that you're going to have sponsored, but you want to share a version of the newsletter before you publish it with the advertiser so they can give it a review, give their sign off because their ads in the publication. So that's a way to do that. You can now share that draft directly. Another cool feature is version history, and this always comes up when people are editing with their teams. It's a collaborative process, but occasionally you might lose track of who had changed what, and so that can be obviously confusing and can cause some hiccups in your process. And so version history is just an easy way to stay on top of the different versions of your newsletter. And then we've also added improvements to our drag and drop functionality, image editing, some of our AI features. So it's basically upgrading all of the features that had already existed, just bring them up to a 2.0 version, making them more robust and powerful.
Yeah, I also wanted to add onto this. We also released inline comments. So previously, you would have to click on like a comments icon, and it would show in a separate sort of section of the post builder. But now they appear right next to whatever you're commenting on, and like usual, you can like tag different team members. They'll get a notification for it, and so that's really cool. And also adding onto the shareable drafts. Previously, you could only send a test email, which would show like an email version of your post. But this also now gives you the ability to see the web version, which maybe might be slightly different. A lot of people maybe want different content in each, so that gives you an option. So now we have both bases covered, where you can see an email version and a web version, which is super helpful. So it also saves time if you want to send a team member basically the email, but it's much easier to or maybe yeah, it's much easier to send a link than have them check through their email. So that can also be a very helpful thing. And I guess the big reason we did this was previously we had a sidebar and it contained every setting, which limited a few things. Like one thing is with so many of the features we're adding, it'd be harder to fit all the settings in there. And also, some settings would not have enough space for like maybe advanced features, like something like the audio newsletter feature where there's like 12 different voices. It's sort of hard to view it in such a small sidebar. And what this causes is a lot of people miss some features. They don't go through the entire process of like checking you know, what they need to. So they might miss a specific setting or feature because they didn't go through a flow. There was no sort of structure in order to the settings. So so basically, what we did is we condensed it into a flow. So now you can go through the different settings step by step, ensuring you don't actually miss anything. And we also just made it look better, which is a huge thing. Um, but yeah, we have responded to a lot of feedback. I think initially there was a lot of feedback, and we've tried our best to accommodate for it.
Awesome. Yeah, I think it's definitely a work in progress in the sense of we're always listening to the feedback we're getting. We're creating incremental improvements to the new post builder, so more to come.
Yeah, we actually have a net new feature coming to the preview later, the post preview. So you'll see that coming soon.
Great. And so this brings us to our Q4 preview, and we just wanted to give you if you've made it this long, we want to reward you with a quick preview of what's coming down the pike and what's next on our roadmap. And I'm not going in any particular order here, but one big one is you might have heard about the Type Dream acquisition. So we acquired this company. They're building an AI web builder, and we are integrating that into our own platform. So using their technology and working with their team to make our own web builder more robust and dynamic. So having a web experience that's on par with the level of advanced customization and control that you have over your beehiiv newsletter. That's coming in late Q4, early Q1, top of mind for us. Also, top of mind for us is our ad network. And so we are looking at alternative payment models. We're looking other ways to give more money to the people who are running ads. So how do we make this more performant for the people running ads is something that's top of mind. We're also looking into ways to surface more relevant data. And we actually brought on Chris on our team, who's a machine learning engineer. He's looking into all of the signals that we have around the ad network. So which brands are performing the best, which publishers have the best tie-ins to specific brands, what ad units and ad placements tend to perform the best, which ones earn the most, which ones earn the least. We're using all of this data to build a more robust ad serving model. So we're connecting beehiiv publishers to the best ads for them so they can earn more. This also it helps everyone because then the advertisers see better results as well. It just creates a more robust, more performant ad network. So that's coming down the pike in Q4. It's something we're working on right now, actually. Another feature related to both monetization and growth is the Boost network. And so right now, some of the feedback we've gotten from users is I get a ton of people applying to boost my newsletter, or there are so many potential options. Some of them don't seem relevant to my newsletter. Some of them seem like smaller publications. Some of them I just can't see the audience fit at all. And so we are looking at ways to make it easier for our users to sort through and filter the opportunities available to them. And we also want to increase the quality of this channel. So how can we make sure that the partners on both sides of the marketplace are great fits for each other? So you're working with newsletters that can drive a relevant targeted audience to your publication. So that's all happening behind the scenes to make this an even better growth and monetization tool. And then the last thing that's coming down the pike, not the last thing, these are just a handful of like really core flagship really cool core flagship features, workspace and publication roles. And so something we've noticed is that a lot of the bigger publishers on beehiiv, a lot of the bigger creators have actual fully built out teams that are working on a single newsletter. So you might have the creator themselves, like the admin, but then you also have freelancers and contractors and design people and editors who are all working on the same newsletter in different capacities. And so we're building out our admin settings and controls to be more reflective of that full team working on a single publication. So expect more there.
I think you might have missed the templates as well, but
I did miss the templates.
There will be templates like a lot more across the app. I think it's super important, and I think the team knows that. So you will see templates across the app. Basically, every aspect of the app will be getting better. And touching on some of the comments, like the Type Dream integration is super important because most of like the I guess like the consumer facing stuff, so like your website, how the post looks, landing pages, those will all be like way more customizable, and look much better, and be easier to sort of create. Right now, Right now, we allow you to make websites, of course, but this adds a whole level of flexibility that we have not had, and it also adds new things that will be possible, like maybe like link in bio, stuff like that. So this is just like maybe this is a very small look at what's coming up, but in each of these different projects, there's a bunch of enhancements. So just for you guys to know.
For sure. And I know we did drop the form, and I'm looking at some of the responses that have come into the form. And you keep dropping questions in the chat too. We do have some time for that. But looking at the form questions specifically, someone asked about monetization features, boosts, and the ad network. Are they available on the free plan? No, those are paid features. So if you're on any of our plans outside of our launch plan, they are accessible to you. Um, One question here about paid subscriptions specifically. How do I know whether my audience is ready for me to set up paid subscriptions? Kind of out of the scope of this particular webinar, but I'm gonna like at a high level. I think if you this is a great use case for some of our poll and survey features. And so you could easily, using our built-in tools, you could send a survey to your audience, understand what are the other publications they're paying for, what is their willingness to pay, how many other content subscriptions do they have, you even have a poll baked into your newsletter where it can just be, hey, would you be interested in a paid tier that gives you access to X, Y, and Z? And that's a great way to collect data on the fly from your audience. So if you're thinking about launching a premium subscription tier, there are ways to gauge audience interest beforehand.
I think we can move on to the I guess just the Q&A then,
Yeah.
if because but before that you can join our exclusive Slack community, which we have mentioned before. We'll leave that in the I guess the communications that come out after this. So there will be a recording. It will be on a YouTube channel, and we do have a webinar section on our website beehiiv.com/webinars where you can view the previous webinars as well and see the upcoming ones and sign up for them. Um, and yeah, so I guess we'll get into the Q&A. I don't think there is a Q&A slide for this, but we'll just leave it
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. I
And then
have a
we can
few
get
more
into the questions.
questions. Yeah, I have a few more that are coming through the Q&A form itself. Any idea on when the ad network will have a flat fee ads instead of just pay per click? Yeah, this has been some common feedback we got from a lot of users. We are going to be experimenting with CPM models in the future. So that's basically paying for impressions, opens versus clicks. So expect more on that front in the coming months. Someone mentioned having issues with webhooks between Make and beehiiv. Um, we can surface some additional resources, but as Steven said, the knowledge base is probably the best place to begin there. If this user wants to send me an email, Tony at beehiiv, I can connect you to one of our technical specialists as well. I think there's a few questions about design in the new post editor, Steven. Do you want to
Yeah.
maybe do a 5-minute explanation, maybe even a screen share of how you use those new design features and how to best get value out of them? No, don't want to put you on the spot if you just want to talk through it too.
Yeah, but I think if there's like specific questions about the design, it'd be probably more helpful. Like because I can generally go over it, but it's probably better if like I have a specific question I can answer.
Actually,
But
I do remember you did a tutorial specifically on this, so I will focus on surfacing that. Let me
yeah,
find
but
that.
generally, a lot of the well-designed newsletters you see on Beehive, they utilize the sections feature inside the editor. So you can type in slash section and you can group um, content, so images and text, and you can customize how that section looks like. So you can add borders, change the color, background. So typically, the way that users have made newsletters look good, and the way that the top Beehive newsletters are using it is through sections. So if you just group content into a section and click on the dots on the left hand side, you'll see visual settings where you can adjust, um, basically adjust how things look like. And so you can go on even just our product updates newsletter. You'll see that there's a little header, there's a outline for the sections. So that for newsletter specific things, I think that is something you could experiment with. We have tutorials on this, but there will definitely be more. And yeah, we don't have a tutorial specifically about sections, but there are tutorials that touch on sections. So if you go on our morning brew tutorial, for example, or I even touched on it in the video that's linked right now on how to use the new post builder. There are sections of the videos where I do touch on it. You're muted right now.
Thanks, Stephen.
Yeah.
There is a video on our YouTube channel about how to join the Slack channel, the Hive Slack community. So let me surface that one. We do have a little bit more time if there are operational or technical questions people are having. I'm just looking at some of the ones in the chat. I think we are actually pretty up to date on all the questions. So I think if you want to take one or two more, I'll find that link to how to join the Hive, that video that you've produced on that, and then we'll share that link. I think we're in a good spot.
I see a question about the audio newsletter. So I mentioned this before, but when you're publishing a post, if you go on the web tab of the post builder for that specific post, you'll see an audio newsletter feature, and then you can select the voice from there. We have a tutorial on our YouTube channel that just came out, so you can check that out. I also see a question about a feature for. Are you going to add a feature where you can see how your newsletter looks while you're editing? I believe we already have something like that, like just the preview feature, but I could be mistaken on what that specifically means. But you can preview how it looks like on different devices and from different users. Yeah. Also, I see a question about: is there a feature where you can send the email to resend a reminder to people who have not opened after a certain date? So you can definitely do this through automations. There probably will be you can probably set a condition on people who haven't opened a specific email and then send them another email. Yeah, before the preview while you're typing. I'm not sure specifically what that means because it would only be an additional click. So I'm not sure how much value that would bring to see the preview while you're typing.
Cool. I think we are pretty caught up to speed. If there are additional feature requests, please send them along. You have my email, Tony at beehiiv, and you can also request them from the team directly. But I think this is one note from Kara. Oh, that's a good point. I think one of the big takeaways from I think that Stephen and I have from the conversation today is that we have all these tools. I think there's more that we can do to make them more accessible. So documentation and support resources. So we're going to take that back to the team. So thank you everyone who's surfaced that.
I think a good resource for this is also just the Slack community. There's a lot of people asking questions there, and I'm also pretty active in there. So if you have a specific question about how to do something, there's a good chance a Slack member also has the answer to it or has the same question. So if you do have questions, it's probably a great resource. Yeah, people ask questions there all the time, and there's other people also answering. So.
Cool. I think that's a good note to leave it on. Thank you, everyone who was able to tune in. We'll be sending the recording out in the next few days. Keep an eye out for that. But with that, have a great rest of your day, and thank you again for the time.